That's a good thing, right? Okay. So, roll call vote. Got it? We're covered on. Okay. Any board announcements? No. Department announcements? Usually we do these at the end.
Yeah, I don't know this time, except for at the end, we'll have a couple of things.
Okay. Open it up to public comment. Anyone that would like to speak on anything that is not on the agenda, we can do that now. No? How about you young men in the back? Do you want to speak? No? Okay. Thanks for showing up. Okay. So we'll close the public forum and we'll go into consent agenda. Acknowledgements of public hearing, certificate of posting, action minutes for last meeting. Anyone want to pull any of those?
In this case, it's only the acknowledgement of posting, because this is not. There was no public hearing items on this agenda that weren't already continued, and there are no minutes on this agenda. So.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
If there's no discussion, Mr. Chair, I'll move approval.
Second.
Been moved in second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we move forward. So our first item on the agenda, property owners will be updated to the Planning Commission regarding the process of Southside Road study area, and that would be Mr. Coates. Kind of weird not having a planner come up first, you know? Maybe we'll just make you a planner.
I was once one.
Yeah, I know you were.
But that's past.
I think.
Yeah, really. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. To give you an update since our last meeting, we have had the following meetings since our last meeting. We've had a meeting with the City of Hollister to initiate the interface between Hollister and north of Union Road and the common boundary line with the city. We've also had a meeting with the Southside School District. We've also had a meeting with the Hollister School District, Sheriff Department, as well as CAL FIRE. We've met with all those groups to start to introduce them and incorporate them into our process as we're going through the planning stages on developing the MOU. We've also taken the matrix that was included within your package, your binder, and we've gone through. We have 4 projects that today are on file with the county which are in the project area. We've done 2 of them for compliance, the matrix analysis compliance. We're finishing the last 2, and this is being done in our shop. Then we have a meeting next Thursday with Brent and with Byron to sit down and show them that what we've done to get them involved in the process as to understanding how this works. To give you one example, though, I think that is important to kind of give you a sense of the direction that we're attempting to follow, is we took one of our projects, and I'll keep that person's name private at this point simply because they have not, we haven't completed them all, and staff has not had a chance to look at it. But when we did the analysis, we found 4 areas where there was a non-compliance. We couldn't find a conformance with the general plan policy and goal as part of an MOU requirement. What we did is sat down, explained how it could be done. That individual has agreed to change all 4 items to now comply with that. So it's going to cause a change in that person's application and amending the map that is on file with the county. I bring that up only because that's the intent of this whole process, is to really get the cooperation of not only the public jurisdiction, but the stakeholders, the groups, and understanding that this isn't just an exercise to do something that says MOU and then it's out the door. It's utilized. And we have the first example, which we will bring up to you in the next update session with the Commission. We'll take you through those and show you how they work. So I'm very happy with that. That process is going on. We also met with Caltrans because of Highway 25. We have been assigned a contact planner at Caltrans that will work with us on any intersections or any activities along there. And we're moving very quickly. We've had 2 stakeholder meetings. We've had one with your county staff, and we have another one coming up next week. So maybe with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll answer questions that you may have or any of the other commissioners.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'll open it up to commission level. Pat? No? Jeff? No? Robert?
No.
I had one, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Mr. Coase, how are your meetings being publicized? How would a potential stakeholder know about the group if they don't know already?
The first meeting, the one meeting we had, to be honest, was through the people that had signed up to be part of the payment program. We had to do contractual with the sub-consultants that we had hired, engineer, and then also an environmental group, so that we could actually incorporate them into the process. Those were all given to us by the people that have signed the contract to take care of the financial aspects of the study. The other one is we have a long list. We have about 28 property owners and some public agency representatives, Southside School, parks folks, etc. We will notify them all by email of when a meeting is going to be held and make it open to that group. And that first meeting will most likely be within 2 weeks.
The first meeting
For that
of everybody?
large group, yes.
And will that meeting be open to the public?
Yes.
Would you like, I don't think we'd have to agendize it, Barbara, but if the planning commission or a planning commissioner wanted to go to listen, that'd be okay, wouldn't it?
Yes, as long as there's not a... Yeah, one individual planning commissioner or less than a majority of the planning commission wanted to go to, like,
What if 4 of us show up and we don't talk or say anything? That's okay, right? We can all go to the county fair together, too.
normally as part of like an agendized public meeting, like a meeting that's made public to the, available to the public. Yes, you can go as long as you don't talk amongst yourselves. If 4 or more people are, if 3 or more people are going there, let's talk about whether it'd be better to agendize it, though. But if you're just going to go sit and listen to it,
Well, if it's in 2 weeks, is there time?
yes, because it would be a special meeting.
Do you know when the date is going to be for that?
It's either going to be a Wednesday or Thursday, 2 weeks from today or Thursday. We're waiting for one more confirmation of one of the shareholders to make sure.
So that would be August. You said 1 or 2 weeks.
It'd be 2 weeks, either Wednesday or Thursday,
So,
2 weeks
yeah, third or
from here.
fourth. Okay.
3rd and 4th.
So that will happen before our next.
They're going to go to?
What'd you say, Mr. Chairman? Our next planning commission is Thursday, the 3rd.
The 3rd, 5:30.
It's a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Right. So we've already got planning commission on the 3rd, but maybe you could just let us know when your meeting is going to be.
Would be glad to. I'll notify all the commissioners when that is, so that you also, if there's individuals. What we're hoping to do at that meeting is, again, present and have comments back. We're trying to keep everybody focused on what our goal is versus side issues with any one individual project. We're trying to get away from that. This is an area-wide evaluation is what we're attempting to do.
Mm-hmm.
Where's it going to be held?
Probably in the county building upstairs in the conference room. Byron, what is the name of that room?
Well, the upstairs conference room.
There you go.
It's kind of tricky.
Which meeting are we? Is this a meeting that we've already discussed, or?
This is the one. This is a future meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And that's one of the things I need to check to find out room availability, find out what's there. We anticipate we'll probably have 50, 60 people
Yeah,
in
you
attendance.
better check capacity too.
Yeah.
Because this will be open to the public, correct?
It'll be, I'm sorry, it's open that people can't come from the public on that situation, yes. The other thing, too, is whether or not, even possible if we do it during the day, if this chambers might even be available, that we could do it in here as well. So we'll check with your staff and find out which works for us. It's either way is fine.
Is there any opportunity to put something in the Freelance or Bonito link or something to notify the public of this meeting and people that live in that area? They may not be a stakeholder. They may not be on the list, but maybe they live there and they want to go hear about what's going on.
It depends on the date of the meeting.
Okay, so let's hold up right there. You seem to be giving directions outside of the chair, but anyway.
I asked if there's an opportunity to
okay,
publicize
but this
it.
is the point I want to make. This is basically stakeholders and people that are affected by this. Part of the reason that we got involved in this process is so government could take a step back Now you're trying to have us take a step back in again.
I'm not trying to
I'd
do any
rather
of the
them,
kind. I'm not-
unrestricted, come up with their own agenda and their own guidelines.
I didn't suggest
without any influence on our part at all, even being there, because just being there, it could be an influence. So this could speed up the process for us, which is part of what we're trying to talk about doing to begin with. So, and then when they finish off, we're going to have all of the time to where the public can come in and speak, and we get to speak on everything that's in it in the formal process when they come back. Isn't that enough?
I completely disagree with your characterizations of my comments. With all due respect, Mr. Chairman, I was just referring to what type of asking questions about what type of meeting, to which Mr. Coach was making reference. He's the one brought it up, not me. I didn't ask anything about the agenda. I asked if it was going to be open to the public, where it was going to be, and if we wanted to go. I don't even know if I want to go, but if a planning commissioner wanted to go, could they? County council said yes, we could. That's all I've been asking about. I do think that the whole entire process, including their own, would benefit from transparency and public involvement, especially as regards the people who live there. That was all I was asking about.
Okay, but that's our job. Our job is the transparency part of it. They're working up an MOU, and we're trying to get them on fast track. So if they're unrestricted and they can work towards that quicker without a lot of public involvement and just stakeholders and people in the area that are involved in this, I mean, we don't go to the planners when the planners are setting up their project formats. Hopefully, I hope we don't. And we wait till it gets here into the public format. Then we discuss it, we bring it all out into the open, and we're totally transparent about it, and we let the public get involved in the discussion. That's what I'm talking about. They're going to be bringing this back to us. I don't want to slow them down. I want to give them free rein, see what they come up with, and then when they come in with it and the public's here, then maybe we can, say, okay, we think that these things work or don't work. And the public gets to chime in as well.
I've made my points clear, and you've answered my questions, Mr. Coates. Thank you, and good luck with the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
And we're
Thank you,
also
Mr.
here
Coates.
during the updates that we can answer questions if the chair has those.
You bet.
No, we're pretty much done.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission.
If any of the members of the commission, if I could get a tally about later, not right now, we can talk later about how many commission members want to attend that meeting, so we can look into that further. Okay.
You can check later, but you can mark me off. I'm not going. Okay, our second item is appeal to staff decision regarding the completeness of application TSM 15-93.
Do we need public comment for that?
That's an update.
Yeah,
Do we need okay. Then thank you for that. Let's back up and see if there's any public comment for the update. Seeing none, then we'll close the public forum and come back to the commission level and open up item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On May 11th, staff received an appeal regarding a staff decision regarding the status of an application, TSM 15-93, whether it be complete or incomplete. This is also known as the Bennett Ranch or the Fay subdivision on Southside Road. Staff has contended that this application has not been deemed complete and therefore has not secured any vested rights. I will also report that the processing of this application is ongoing and the county has contracted with a consultant for this project, and that environmental analysis has commenced. A more thorough analysis of the completeness issue is located in your staff report and your attachments. We do have Brian Winter from the Miller Star Law Firm, who has advised us on this project. If you have any further questions, however, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 2016-06 denying the appeal.
Okay.
And you did receive, I don't know when you received this document, but we received it today.
So does Commissioner want to open up the public comment first?
Fine.
Okay, let's open up public comment for item 2. Any speakers? Any speaker cards? fill out a card? Well, you can do that later. Hop up there, state your name for the record.
My name is Todd Deutscher. Thank you very much for hearing the appeal. I will try and be very concise. Number one, I think all of us recall when the 3 applications that were submitted that were on file in the Southside Road area that were represented to the Board of Supervisors as nearly a dozen active applications. The 3 that were actually active applications 3 days prior or 4 days prior to the RMA deciding to bring forth a resolution for a specific plan at the Planning Commission invalidated all 3 applications. After working with developers from anything to over a year to a few months, they invalidated them all on a blanket basis as a means to clear the path for the specific plan, which, for the second time, the Planning Commission rejected. Nonetheless, I had to appeal it because it basically deemed my application incomplete. If you look at the letter from Nadia and team responding, and then compare that to the letter that I had sent to you today from our attorney, it's clear that by operation of law, the application was deemed complete. This isn't about vesting. It's just a matter of, is the application complete or not by operation of law. So while there's probably going to be a lot of discussion about vesting, et cetera, the Streamlined Map Act indicates that it is complete by operation of law. The points that the county made in their letter invalidating or deeming it incomplete were clearly were form over substance in terms of using the correct wording, even though we used the county's forms for doing it. The county did not respond to our application even after 30 days after being submitted and fees paid, which is basically the touchstone for that particular issue. They failed to do that. The county continued to process the map, never raising the issue once. And in the spirit of good faith, we continued, they continued, and then prior to Director Barnes' initiative for the second time trying to push through a specific plan for the Southside area, they invalidated all of the applications. And I will just comment that Director Turner indicated that the environmental consultant for our project has been engaged and has been working. I would just want to give you an update from about 5 hours ago, on a conference call with Mr. Turner, Mr. Barnes, Shirley, and Nadia and our council. The program that we had been in philosophical agreement in pursuing with the county since August of last year, for which we signed a reimbursement agreement with the county for a particular CEQA approach, for which we paid the county back over $22,000 for Nadia's time on, and an equivalent amount for my attorney's time was invalidated by planning today. And basically, instead of doing a 15183 approach, they insisted that we do a mitigated negative deck after over almost a year of time and $50,000 just paid to outside counsel to do this. So basically, we're put on hold again and starting over with a new budget, a new contract, et cetera. And I don't believe that any of this is demonstrative of goodwill, fair play, or what a public agency, how it should be behaving. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other speakers? Okay, I'll close public comment and we'll take it to commission level. Any questions from the commission? Jeff?
I think I would like to hear from.
Your mic on?
Yeah, I think I'd like to hear from our council, because this is all a little bit hard for me to understand, to be
Legal,
honest.
heavy legal? Okay. Council?
This live? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, having just seen the latest letter from the appellant's counsel within the last 5 or 10 minutes, still digesting that, but we would nevertheless contend that we disagree that the application is deemed complete based on the evidence in the record. The appellant cites numerous documents and numerous actions that it has taken for which we have no evidence in the county's file, and we would ask the appellant to submit that evidence that it has referred to in its original correspondence. Moreover, to the extent extent that it could be concluded that the application is deemed complete, if that could be concluded, and we disagree, that would not convert the application to one that has vested rights under the Permit Streamlining Act or under the Subdivision Map Act, because this is a vesting tentative map application. The Subdivision Map Act makes clear that vested rights for a subdivision map come after an application is approved. Moreover, the section 66474.2 of the Map Act, to which the appellant refers, is tied to in applying the ordinances, policies, and standards that are in effect on the date the application is complete. It is tied to the local agency's determination that the application is complete, not to whether it's deemed complete by operation of law under the Permit Streamlining Act. For that reason, I believe that you cannot obtain vested rights by pursuant to an application that is simply deemed complete. You can only obtain vested rights from an application that has actually been determined to be complete and later approved by the agency, which has not happened here.
Okay. Question? Nope. Clear, huh? Just clear as a bell. Robert, anything?
I'm trying to digest everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good breeze?
Yes, I had a question for the appellant. Yeah, I assume so.
Todd Deutscher.
I'm trying to look behind the curtain here a little bit and figure out why this is important to you. Regardless, that you say it is, or you and your attorney say it is, they say it's not. Why does it matter to you?
They say it's not important?
No. You say it's not deemed complete. They say it is, or no, the other way around. You say it's deemed complete. They say no, maybe not. Whether whoever's right or wrong on that, why is it important to you?
It's important to me for a couple of reasons.
Let's hear 'em.
The first reason is because it's both technically incorrect and it's demonstrative of bad will on the part of the Resource Management Agency. And to me, that's a big issue because it speaks for the county as a whole. The second thing is that having my application deemed incomplete for non-truly legal reasons. If you read the response from Mike Durkee that you have, you'll see that those are bad faith type actions, and it's important for me to make a mark here and note it. And if I am voted, my appeal is rejected, then we go to the board for the same thing, because this is basically constitutes a pattern of behavior that it's just wrong. Okay, I'm just saying it's. I don't know how else to say it, but it's not the right way to do it. Vesting, there's no. The things that were on the books when this was deemed complete in our mind haven't changed. Brent's specific plan got rejected twice. It's just hovering out there. It only matters really if that goes forward. Then and he went and basically proposed something that was adopted that made our project economically infeasible. So right now, being vested per se, not the end of the world, because today we're vested. If Byron's team gets the sequel work done that they say they will and the time they will, and our map is approved, the laws in effect back in August or September are going to be the same laws that are in effect 8 weeks from now. However, if this drags out another 5-6 months and Brent circles back one more time for a specific plan action and it's adopted, it will materially and adversely affect my project. And so that's why I'm here.
So, okay, that makes sense. So in order to, let's say that whatever chance there may be of someday there being official county action that would create a general plan amendment, special study area specific plan, you would like to preclude the applicability of those future things should they happen without any doubt by having your application be deemed complete on the date that you said it was in February.
As a bottom falling out safeguard, yes, but more as a matter of principle, I don't want my application deemed incomplete for reasons that are technically incorrect or basically ill-intended, or politically intended as opposed to substantively intended. And you guys have heard me a million times, and I apologize for going on and on, but I just gave you an example of how my project just went from being close to being done again to now pushed off for another 6 to 8 weeks for another study that I never even heard about until today. And by the way, county council's outside firm is better to the tune of $25,000 for it, and so is my council, and I have nothing but a burnt ear because of it. And I'm asking for understanding of the situation as well as the specifics of the letter from my other counsel, who's probably the highest regarded map specialist in the state of California with regard to the MAP Act, for you to please read it and concur with my appeal.
Thank you.
Miss,
Are you done? Okay. Go ahead.
with regard to the argument that that the county had somehow agreed that we were going to use the 15183 analysis, no such representation was ever made. We said we would consider it, we would evaluate it. He was advised time and time again that if he wanted to proceed outside of the sort of specific plan process that the rest of the South Side property owners are going through, that he was doing it on his own risk, that he may have to do additional work later if it turned out that additional work was going to be needed.
There is no specific plan action right now, correct?
The process
Try to contain, okay?
the process that the property owners are going through by whatever name or label we give it.
And this applicant is not participating in that process at this time? Huh?
I'm not trying to get around that at all.
Todd, come
You
up
have
to
to-
the
the only
come up
problem
to the
is
counter.
it's
If you guys are going to
televised.
talk, I need it on record, okay?
I am fully and loudly participating in that process. I agreed the night that was kicked off when you and the chair suggested that process. I'm lead in that process, so I'm not trying to skirt anything. What I'm trying to say is that I said I would work with that plan, but I don't need to be invalidated. My application doesn't need to be invalidated on some other agenda that isn't even in existence. There is no specific plan being brought forth right now to the Planning Commission as I understand it. So, and just to add to what Shirley pointed out, we agreed in principle to look at it. I signed a reimbursement agreement with the county to prepare the studies and work, and that to me was good faith that we were marching down that path. To wait a year later to find out it's not does not seem fair or right or responsible.
So just for clarification, the specific plan that you're talking about is actually the amendment to the general plan that we have in play, the big green map that hasn't been voted on one way or the other yet. Shirley, is that what you're talking about? And Todd,
Yeah.
back
I
up
believe so.
here.
Yeah, it's kind of been going through an evolution of how we're going to, whether it's a general plan amendment, a specific plan, a master plan, whatever. It's gone through a couple of different conceptual ideas. Whatever it is at this current time is what I'm referring to.
And this commission directed, this commission tabled that item, directed or agreed with the property owners. The property owners would go off and make their own, look at the feasibility of their own plan. And in the meantime, the commission directed us to continue processing the applications that we did have on the books. So no application has been invalidated. We've continued to process.
Correct. So that's, and that's exactly what we directed and what we're continuing on.
So is my application no longer
Todd,
incomplete?
it's my turn now.
Sorry.
So the fact is what we have is a tabled amendment to the general plan that's being continued on. So it has no force, no power, nothing.
It was continued to a date uncertain. So we would need to
Correct.
renotice it again if it ever.
Waiting for the developer group to come back and either consolidate and get that together as quickly as possible, and then we could take that to a vote and decide if we want to or do not want to.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, Todd, your turn.
I just want to make sure whether I understood Byron correctly. Did you say that my application is no longer deemed incomplete, or it's still deemed incomplete? Because you just said you're processing, yet it's incomplete. I'm just trying to understand.
We're able to process an incomplete application. I'm not saying that the application is complete. You were using the term invalidated.
Okay.
And I would not consider that an appropriate term as we are processing your application.
State your name for the record again.
Todd Deutscher.
Thanks, Todd. Okay. Any further discussion?
If I can add clarity on the vested rights issue briefly.
Please.
There's essentially two aspects to vested rights with respect to a subdivision map. The first part is what rules apply to the map. The second part is what rules apply to the project. If you have a vesting map that gets approved, you eventually can have vested rights for the map and for the entire project. If a conclusion could be reached that this application is deemed complete, the only benefit would be that the subdivision would need to be treated under the ordinance's policies and standards that were in effect at the date it was deemed complete. There would be no vested rights that would apply to the entire project, and that is because the vested provisions of an application that is complete under the Subdivision Map Act relate to a local agency's determination that the application is complete, which is different than an application that is considered to be complete, deemed complete by operation of law. It's our argument that there are no vested rights that can attach to an application that is merely deemed complete. It's only one for that an agency is determined to be complete.
Okay, could you state your name for the record?
Sorry, yes, Brian Winter, Miller Star Regalia.
Thank you. And so I have a question back to that, because in real estate we call it something like active and passive. So deemed seems a very passive way of going forward with this. You guys, I hear, are saying, no, this is an active process, and so he has to be told at some point, or some public notice has to occur at some point that states that, okay, you now have a completed application. This is not deemed at all. This is, and we're in control of it, and we'll say what's going on and what isn't going on. Is that close? Layman term?
Yeah, and another aspect of it is, while it is deemed incomplete, staff can continue to ask for corrections, modifications, additional information, what have you, to be provided.
Mm-hmm.
There is still an ability to, even on an application that has been determined or deemed complete, you can always ask for more additional information under CEQA, but there may be aspects of things that need to be tweaked or corrected that are not technically under CEQA, but that staff still needs to have augmented.
Sure.
And that would be what is going on in the notice of incompleteness process. Staff is telling them, okay, we need these 5 more things, and then they provide those, and it's the part of the back and forth stage of the application process.
Okay, thank you. Getting clearer?
And so would it be fair to say that after it's deemed complete, then there are certain aspects that the county may not be able to ask for in the future if it's not related to CEQA?
That's correct.
Okay, and it's just for the record also, county, either legal or Barbara?
Just interjecting. Barbara Thompson.
Well, thanks for that. But
Yes.
what is the recommendation, so you guys can stay? What's the recommendation on this?
Recommendation is to deny the appeal.
Okay.
There's a resolution in the packet that, if you're inclined to deny the appeal, would have that effect. You would just need to adopt that resolution.
Okay, I'm open for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I have a few comments.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready? First, I'd like to say in 40 years, I have never seen this happen. So this is very unusual. And the merits of this appeal will not be settled here. It will be continued and moved forward at great expenses to all parties. I would only hope that our staff and the applicant can come to some arrangement or middle grounds. This issue is much bigger than this appeal. It is at the very heart of how San Benito County does business. I have watched over the last year how direction given by this planning commission is followed by staff, and probably more correctly, legal staff. If staff believes we are doing something wrong that will jeopardize the county, the time to discuss it is when we are making the decision. I feel what is happening is we are making decisions, and then there's much more burdensome requirements put on the applicant. If staff believes the Planning Commission is in error, discuss it with us or take it to the Board of Supervisors. The board certainly has the right to overturn any decision we make in an open board meeting. Or maybe it is just time to abolish the Planning Commission. But continuing to just ignore direction is not the answer. I am not going to rehash how this all happened. We all know what's happened here. I will just say I am very embarrassed by the process. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. You're done? I was kind of hoping you'd say something. Robert?
Don't have any questions.
Okay.
I just
Commissioner DeVries?
Yeah. Commissioner Lowe, that was well said, well written, but what do you think should have been done differently so that we don't repeat mistakes in the future?
I believe that what's been happening is that we give direction, and I've fought very hard in these last few meetings to give simple direction. And it seems like once it leaves here and it goes back to staff and maybe legal staff, that suddenly we're going to sign this document and we're going to change it to this and if that's what has to happen to keep the county out of problems, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with it not being discussed at our level. So when I leave here at night, I know what we decided is what's going to happen. And I don't see that happening right now. I see things being changed. And I see things being changed that cost the county and the applicant a lot of money. And that's my frustration. We have got to start moving these projects forward. And we talked about this first in February, and we're still at the same spot. Time's money.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's my frustration. We just have to move these things along.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
I agree with you, Pat.
Yeah. And we have a completed general plan, which just makes it that much worse.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so
I didn't go into that. That's why I said I wasn't rehashing it.
So I'm open for a motion or something.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the appeal.
Second.
Okay, we've got a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all to say no? Okay.
So shall we bring back a resolution to reflect your decision at the next Planning Commission meeting?
Yes, that would be the direction. Okay.
Abstain.
So, item 3 is an item on a public hearing to consider the potentially adopt a resolution to recommend the Board of Supervisors to amend Chapter 21.03 of Title 21 of San Benito County Code on affordable housing regulations. So we're the lead, and it's on you, Byron.
Well, I'm just going to briefly touch on the highlights of the ordinance for the commission and to make sure we're all remember where we've been and where we're going. We've had multiple public hearings. We've taken comments from the public. We've taken comments from the commission. We've had meetings at our planning office with both sides of the argument. Right now, the ordinance that you have before you today is a 15% on-site requirement to be constructed affordable housing for subdivisions that are 5 units or more or greater. In order to encourage on-site development, it is a 20% requirement for off-site development if an applicant chooses to develop off-site instead of on-site. But there is almost unlimited flexibility within this ordinance. An alternate plan that meets the spirit of the ordinance is something that can be proposed by the applicant and reviewed by staff, the commission, and ultimately the Board of Supervisors if they want to propose an alternative way to provide affordable housing for the community. That includes in lieu fees. I'm going to touch on that in a minute. We're also, based on comments from the commission, looking for ways to encourage high density rental. If you look at 21.03.004B5, which is on page 7 of the ordinance, we're prioritizing projects that include on or off-site high density projects that include land set aside, which could be transferred to a nonprofit or to be contracted with another entity to provide affordable housing. As far as this aspect goes, there'll be more of this as we implement the housing element. The housing element requires the county to establish high-density zones higher than anything we have today. It'd be the 20 to 40 unit per acre. As we implement the housing element, we will be identifying the areas and designating them as potential affordable housing receiving areas, if I'm allowed to use that term. With regard to fees, we are not authorized to collect in lieu fees at this time without a nexus study performed by a consultant to establish the fee. So, yes,
How much do you think that study will cost?
between $30,000 and $50,000.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Is it? Can I through the chair? Can I ask a add-on question to that? Is that Nexus study the 30 to 50,000 budgeted, anticipated in the future? Is it on the horizon? Will we ever get a Nexus study done to establish those in lieu fees?
we need approval from the board to engage a consultant for that.
Well, that's my question. Has the board been asked?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay. Do you have, okay, are you planning to ask the board? I mean, in
Yes.
other words, is this Nexus study just something we're going to talk about for the next 6 months or a year, or is there a plan to try to get that done so we can know what a good in lieu of fee would be?
If the Planning Commission recommends approval of this ordinance, we would request that part of that recommendation include the support for a nexus study in order to allow us to charge in lieu fees for whether fractional units or in cases where in lieu fees may make more sense.
Okay, well, it seems like that's pretty important, doesn't it, to determine what a in lieu of fee should be, because we've already had it come up a few times.
Yeah.
And then everyone's using past development agreement type negotiated amounts as a precedent. Oh, well, that's what this guy paid. I want to pay that. Well, hold on, that was this guy, and we need some structure, I think, in this. So, what I heard you say is that the passage of a resolution recommending this resolution will act as a trigger to recommend to the board that they budget and go forward with an expert for a nexus
Yes.
study. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Are you done, Byron?
Yes, you have a recommendation in your packet and includes a resolution recommending that you forward this ordinance to the Board of Supervisors for their review and approval. And we're here for any questions in your direction.
I missed the last meeting. I apologize for that. So I kind of need a little bit of an update, and I did get some of it from Byron today, and I thank you very much for your time on that, Byron. One thing that might be helpful, we have a special meeting of hopefully all the planning commissions on the 3rd. And I think we could be talking about affordable housing across. And if we could joint venture, we might be able to have the city share costs on this nexus study. So I'd like to at least try to continue this out because of that one individual item. If commission agrees with this, till after that meeting. Now, there's no action items at that meeting. It's only a discussion, so they would only be able to we all just basically come up with the idea and go back to our other jurisdictions and see what we can make of it. So that might be one option. And then I just that Nexus study cost, and this Nexus study, hasn't this kind of been in play for a long, long time, and we just never acted on it? Hasn't this?
We've known that it's necessary. We're endeavoring consultants.
Okay. So, I'll open it to commission level. Commissioner DeVries?
Yep.
No, Robert?
No, just
Jeff?
Byron, how long do you think the Nexus study would take?
Yeah, I was going to say 3 to 6 months, but that's not a firm. But That's what I think it would probably take, yeah.
Okay. I will say I'm happy with some of the changes that were made. At the last meeting that Ray missed, I did vocalize a few concerns I had about wanting to see more high-density stuff encouraged and located near services. I've said it before in these meetings that I think you get more bang for your buck that way, and so anyway, I like the direction it went. That's
Good.
I think all I had to say.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chair, Byron, excuse me, on the fee structure where we're basically waiving the fees on the very low end of the scale, I have no problem with that, but is there a way that we can put in the ordinance that the fees could be offset by money put in the kitty by people that don't actually develop and pay the in lieu fees? Because I think it's important. We need to make those fees whole in some way.
As part of the Nexus study, we could at least have that discussion or direct the consultant to also include the potential of a, call it an impact fee or something, or some other type of fee that would apply to all development. Because in our research, we've seen some in lieu fees apply just to large subdivisions, although we've seen others that apply to every single building permit, or maybe just every residential building permit. There's more than one way to collect fees, so that can be something that could be worked in.
I guess that's not what I'm saying. I guess I'm suggesting that the fees that we collect from people that don't actually do development, if they're building 2 homes and we collect a fee, if that money could be partially used to subsidize the fees that we're not charging on the development of the units.
I believe so. The ordinance is written with some flexibility in use of the fees, so we would maybe want to clarify that some and review it a little more, but it's written with an intent to be somewhat flexible, that not every single dollar has to go exactly into a home. It can be used for programs as well.
I would like to see that in there, because I do think traffic impact fees and park fees and the fees we charge are important, and they're important for the people that are going to be moving into these units.
Good. I've got some serious problems with this whole thing. So let's start at the top. One is I've seen different projects for self-help in the city when I was on city planning for us, and a lot of Santa Clara and Monterey County residents benefited from it. So, and this is probably a legal question, so is it possible to put down that only people that have been resident for at least 2 years in San Benito County, so we know they're a San Benito County resident, could actually be qualify for the program? Is that legal?
Make it 10 years. Make it 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of these guys are kids. Well,
Oh, yeah, because, see,
they come
they're
and
the ones that
go.
want to get into
Yeah.
a home.
Yeah.
A lot of these dollars are used to leverage other grant money, like federal and state money.
So that would kick them out? We wouldn't be able to?
No, so I'm just saying that we would have to comply with any sort of regulations. Let's say, because this could be used for match, it could be, I mean, if we're using the money for staff time, it's an outreach program, it's a little bit different. But I know that if we're putting it into like an apartment complex, or allowing people to come in, and we're using that to leverage money from other sources, I don't know about whether the residency requirement, what type of residency requirements, that we'd have to look into that to see what other counties and cities have.
And Gabriel will be at that workshop, so that'd be a good, because he's on the city planning and he's also with Cheese Bus, so he might be able to address that. But, I saw people come in and they took up resident rented for a couple of months because they knew this was coming, and they stayed here just long enough to qualify so they could qualify for the house. It seems like the kids that have been here, their families have been here through the generations. It seems like if we're doing a project, it would be good to help our own. It's local money helping local people. I just want to make sure that's legal. So that's one of it. The other thing is, like Jeff, to me, an affordable housing element in the county is just an oxymoron. This is a high-density, by nature, project that needs a lot of infrastructure and a lot of help. So I don't see how we should be doing this at all. But what I see it as is a joint project to where if we had the okay from the state to take in the entire San Benito County and allow affordable to count across the board for all the jurisdictions, and we all chip in, and then it gets built where we get the most bang for the buck, where we get the most people in houses, and we make the houses as affordable as possible, because the more affordable means more houses and more people taken care of. That's not going to happen in the county. And so I see this as like something that's going to have to be a joint venture. And how San Juan gets involved, I have no idea. But it seems like we should be able to do something like that. I was working on an affordable set out there, but their government development program ahead of time said, no, we're not going to allow this to go in. But it was mostly because of kids crossing 156 and the worry about children going to school, walking to school over the highway. So so that would probably mean that they're not going to be able to do anything in the affordable realm on the Mission Vineyard side. So that would be part of this discussion with them, too, at that workshop. The other thing is I think Chispa's got a great idea. I think you need to do houses, but we need to do rentals, too, somehow. A lot of people just need housing, period, and they need good affordable housing to rent. And right now, the numbers are so few that the rents they're phenomenal. So if that could be included strongly into this, but the problem is we really shouldn't have this at all, because we're trying to be a city and we're the county. The fee structures, because we have no nexus, basically it's an open checkbook. That scares the heck out of me. The fees will be imposed at a later date. That doesn't work at all. And so that nexus study, I think, needs to happen first. And, I look at it this way. It's like we're doing them a favor. And so we should basically try to get the biggest bang for the buck that we totally can, so we serve the greatest number of people. If we're going to be using developer money or something like that somewhere, then that's what we should be focused on. If we can't do that, we can't provide that, then we need to look to the city or San Juan Bautista because of their density levels and their service infrastructures to be able to do that and share it somehow. And it probably hasn't been done before anywhere, but that's okay. It doesn't mean it can't be done. So if we all get on board and work together, we can probably pull something like this off. Did this also ask the formation of a new commission for housing? And I'm just not for adding more government to government. So I'm not in favor of that either. There's too much of a chance for just problems with that, and favoritism and everything else. So there you go. I'm sorry. I know you guys worked really hard on this and put a lot of time in it, and I appreciate that time. But those are my comments. And so I guess I'm kind of stating that even for the Nexus study, waiting until after the workshop on this would be probably a good idea to continue this on, but Commission has to agree to that. Pat?
Mr. Chair, I have a question. I think your idea about joining the jurisdictions and coming up with a number of, the whole is a good one. I'm sure that the city's not going to be excited about building all affordable housing and the city. But I'm wondering, how would we even move that forward? Or should we maybe send a letter to the Board of Supervisors and ask them to, go through some of their state representatives?
Oh, for the joints,
To see if we can make it happen.
Yeah, talk to Anna. We talk to the Board of Supervisors if they have people that. This might be a good little test area because it is sort of exclusive. We only have a couple of cities in the county, and we all know each other. We all try to work together. So it might be really great for them to try to push forward something like this, as long as it isn't too time-consuming to rewrite. But yeah, I would say first we need to go to the workshop, get the feel and the temperature and the temperament of the city itself and the planning commission, see if they're even open to the idea. If they're open to the idea, then maybe we go back to the board and they go back to the council and we open discussions.
I think it has to come from the elected. I don't think this body can carry.
Oh no, we're just a think tank. So yeah, but this is still in front of us. We need to address this and decide what to do with it. If you want to act on it, change it, modify it, or move it forward until after the workshop, I'm open to a motion.
Was there any
I think
comment?
we need to.
Legal want to talk?
No, was there any, did you open it
We
for
haven't
public
opened it.
comment already?
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgot you guys out there. Yeah, let's open it up to public comment.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. I'm Alfred Diaz-Infante, President of Chispa. Again, I want to thank staff for their work on this document. It's definitely a cleaner document, easier to understand. I pointed this out last time. Some of the points I want to make today, I got 3 points I want to make on page 12. And it kind of speaks to what Chairman Pierce was talking about the need for affordable rental housing. And this is under the section on page 12 under for sale units. What we have suggested is that under the very low and low income categories, that the requirement be that those units be rentals. Those are easier to manage when they're rentals at those income levels, and there's many programs out there that are available that provides for funding for rental, very low and low income housing. And then we're suggesting that the moderate income housing be considered for sale. And right now it's kind of left open with respect to that language. It's in page 12. And then the other item, maybe I don't understand it, but it's on page 16 where it speaks about the impact fee. And this is related to what we do. We do 100% affordable housing, and to me it doesn't make sense why we would be required to pay any kind of in lieu impact fee, and I think that's what it means. I mean, there isn't anything in lieu. We're building 100% affordable housing. We're not doing anything less than that's required. So the in lieu concept really doesn't apply. So, and maybe I just don't understand what that means, and maybe staff can clarify that for me. Then the last item is on page 19, and again, I made mention of this last time. This is really for the benefit of the commissioners that were not here, where it makes mention of affordable housing by design as an alternative. We don't suggest that as an alternative, because really what you want is the units to be restricted, that they're going to be maintained as affordable on a long-term basis. And if you don't have that, you lose that, especially rental housing. You want long-term affordability with respects to rental housing. So I would not encourage that. That would be something that would be considered as an alternative to the requirement of affordable housing. And I also agree that in order for the program to be effective, it's important that the jurisdictions kind of be in line, that it's take shared responsibility for providing affordable housing or making affordable housing available through these policies. I'm glad to hear that there's this meeting taking place on August 3rd between the city and the county that makes a lot of sense to me. So hopefully something productive comes out of that.
Continue on.
Just want to recommend staff's, encourage you to accept staff's recommendation for recommending this document to the Board of Supervisors. This county needs something. And again, it's going to have to be something done jointly, I think, with the city. We have had a couple of meetings with the mayor of Hollister and mentioned this to him, that it can't just be the county of San Benito that has an inclusionary housing ordinance. It really has to be done collectively. Well, not collectively, but the city has to have its own inclusionary housing. And our emphasis is, again, on the rental housing. You need that long-term supply of rental housing. And it kind of speaks to also on the affordable housing by design, because the mayor's been talking about what he's referring to community housing, is that the community needs a diversity of different housing types. And what we've seen over the years is that basically the affordable housing developers and the housing authorities are the only ones that are building rental housing. Very few market rate developers are building rental housing. Most of the rental housing that we see built tend to be large homes, 2,000 square foot homes and above. So it makes it very difficult for a young couple that wants to get into that start a home to buy a home. I know there's older homes out there, but and I know, and I mentioned this to one of the commissioners, that the city of Salinas, for example, has an inclusionary housing ordinance, but also in their future growth area, they require what's called new urbanism, which requires that developers build diversity of different housing types. So they not only are going to be building, the larger single-family homes, but they're going to be building, condominiums, townhomes, as well as apartments. They have to have a mix of housing. And we haven't seen it in many years. It used to be years ago we used to see developers build a mix of different housing types. But historically now it's mostly, large, 2,000, 2,500 square foot homes, and not everybody can afford those. Those are my comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Sit tight there for a second. I got a question for Byron. I'm going to put him on the spot here. So you pretty much pay all your impact fees based on doors, right? Whether it's a single family, whether it's a duplex, a quad.
Yes.
You're paying per door.
Basically.
Yeah. See, there's no incentive. Why would I want to build a duplex? I'm going to pay 2 impact fees on it, and I'm not going to make that much more. But if I build a single-family dwelling, now I'm going to make $200,000-300,000 per dwelling. I'm going to make a couple of $100,000 more per unit.
Well, I understand why they're doing that.
There's no incentive for any of that, and there's such a need, and that's why we're so out of balance. So it seems to me it's almost like government needs to somehow jump in there and say, okay, we're going to give you lower impact fees somehow for these duplexes, quads, fours, apartment complexes, so there's an incentive for the developer to get in there and build something. That work for you?
Well, I fully understand why market rate developers are building the larger homes, because, and I have, we're developers too, and we have cost, and we, also want to at least cover our costs when we develop our housing. Mm-hmm. So I realize the risk that developers are taking, the amount of money they have to put up before they even break ground and before they actually sell a home and they actually get money in their pocket. In fact, usually don't see that money until the last 10% of the homes that you're selling, because the first 90% of the homes you're basically selling, you're paying the bank for that loan that you got. And I fully understand that developers are building the larger homes because that's where they can make more money and because they're taking a lot of risk. So I agree there should be some incentive to developers that they provide a mix of housing types, which includes, the higher medium density type of housing.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Public comment still open? Anyone else out there? No? Well, here we go.
Oh, there it is. My name is Valerie Eglin, San Juan Bautista, and yes, it would be very nice if we could develop some lower income housing in San Juan. And as you say, over at the vineyard area is probably kind of difficult. But still, there's a possibility. What I wanted to say was that CHISPA has been doing a great job in Hollister, and I believe there is an interface between the city and the county that needs to be brought together. So I encourage that, and I'm glad to see that there's a conference on it.
Thank you for your comments. It looks like we're closing public comment. Myron?
Just with regard to the comments we received, I guess we could do a better job clarifying it. We did try to clarify it from the last meeting. The impact fee section, it's reducing, or the ability to reduce, or if not completely waive, impact fees for projects that are affordable. That's the point of that section, and I'll try to clarify that further between now and the next time this is heard.
So it looks like we need to pass this, so we need to.
If you were to direct us tonight to clarify it, I could do it. But
okay.
And then the other item I wanted to just touch on, the affordable by design section. If through a development agreement or affordable housing agreement, that's the flexibility that I referred to earlier. If the actual construction of affordable housing, deed restricted affordable housing on the site, the applicant has a different plan that satisfies the needs of the ordinance and satisfies everybody. Those are the standards for those affordable by design. It's not meant to encourage affordable by design or simply replace, allow someone without the negotiation, without a development agreement, without going through the commissions and board to be allowed to do affordable by design in lieu of affordable housing.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
I have one clarification to the resolution. It's not legally required, but I'd like to just make a slight amendment to lines 2 through 4 of the last be it further resolved section, so that the second through fourth lines of that be it resolved section would say, it hereby finds as follows, that based on the foregoing findings and determinations and its consideration of the addendum that has been prepared, the Planning Commission of the County of San Benito hereby declares its recommendation to the Board of Supervisors that the Board of Supervisors adopt the addendum and approve the revisions to ordinance number 766 by adopting that, and the rest of it stays the same. Basically, I'm just saying that you're recommending that they adopt the addendum as well as approve the ordinance.
Okay. And if we're going to send that back for a workup, we can add that in, right? I'm open to a motion.
Mr. Chair, I believe that we should wait to adopt anything until after the meeting of the 3rd. Okay. But I don't particularly want staff to go out and do a lot more work. I think that, maybe we can just let this stand the way it is until after the meeting of the 3rd, because there could be other things that arise, and I don't want time wasted on it. And not that it's a waste of time, but if we're going to change and then continue to change, there's this.
Agreed. Point well taken. And this and a few other things in the other group that's ongoing, I'd like to put the amendment to the general plan. I'd like to keep that on the agenda as we go, because we never know at what point we might action on that. So, that said, I'm still open to a motion.
I'll move that we continue this to our August meeting.
August meeting? I need a second.
Second.
Clarify that this would be the regular August meeting as opposed to the special
meeting.
August meeting?
Yes.
Correct.
Specify the date and time.
I don't know what the date is.
Do you know what the date is?
You would if we had a calendar in here.
I know.
Yeah, and they took our analog clock away.
17.
I think it's the 17th.
I'm going
Third-
through
third
withdrawals,
week,
no analog clock.
17th? Okay.
August 17th at 6 p.m.
August 17th at 6 p.m.
Okay.
That's my motion.
Okay, thank you. Second?
Second.
Second? You're okay with the add-on?
No.
Still good? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All that oppose? Okay. So discussion items from staff. Here's your big chance, dude.
Just wanted to remind the commission that we have actually 2 special meetings scheduled for the 3rd. One to take place at 5:30 of just this planning commission, and then one at 6 o'clock. That includes the City of Hollister and City of San Juan Bautista.
Have you got any response back from San Juan?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I only heard from one, so hopefully we'll get a good turnout in San Juan. Dan, can you make that so? Can you
I
talk to
tried.
those guys over there?
I tried before. They weren't interested. They were not interested over in San Juan. Valerie, maybe you can rile them up. I've tried in the past. I'll try again.
Okay, I mean, we're talking about broad issues. Nobody's going to be telling anyone what to do. There's no action items. It's totally discussion only.
Mr. Chair, I was in an intergovernmental committee meeting, and the councilman from San Juan Bautista said, why aren't we ever included in any of these meetings?
Exactly. Because nobody tells them. So, discussion items. Director, do you have any discussion items? Nope. Then Byron? No. Barbara? Okay. I'm open to an adjournment.
I got a quick question.
Okay.
We had talked about where we pick up our packets. This last one everything I brought out down here. I think I specifically said I can pick mine up over there at the planning department.
I'll try to make a note of that for next time.
Okay.
I mean, I'm hop away.
Yeah, we pass you to bring it to the downtown. So,
I would still prefer no pill.
Since we're talking about that, is there any way we can have them delivered again? Because that's the third comment I've heard about packet issues. I had trouble with mine, and Jeff has, because he gets in so late, he has trouble with his, and so is Pat. So unless Dan's doing it online or something.
I had to drive all the way here to get this, make a special trip.
Yep. So is there any way we can have these delivered?
I think we can make a direct on planning.
Can you overnight them and save the gas and staff time? It's like $8. I'll give you the $8 every month to overnight mine, so I don't have to drive here to get it.
I mean, what about
we're still efforting getting you it is online, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still efforting getting you the.
But what if it's big pullouts and all that stuff?
Oh,
Or color or whatever, you know?
that's the goal, is to not provide you with paper copies, and to not
what?
to not provide the commission with paper copies, to only have
paperless?
it all to go paperless and have it all digital, and give you the equipment to make sure that you're able to access it.
You know, that works pretty well if the commission was fully digitized, but we aren't. And so it just so, and then like Dan's saying, what happens when you have a large map and color and you've got shading you have to deal with? I'm sorry, but we're not the Board of Supervisors.
And like every cell tower we've ever done's had color, you know, photos, and it comes up enough. But could you just do this and stick it in a even USPS overnight thing for $8?
We'll discuss it.
Okay, so what you're telling me here is we need to actually have some kind of a motion that we're going to pass to the Board of Supervisors, take you guys totally off the hook and out of the element, and have them tell you guys what to do. Is that what we're moving towards? You know, not that I'm fronting anyone off here.
I'm not sure where your power lies with regard to
We have no power.
directing staff as to the format of the packet. And that's something I'll have to discuss with the county council.
Okay.
So if it's available online, could you? How about this? And I understand you're trying to wean us off paper and go paperless. Everybody's doing that. Could you send us a link or something saying like, "Hey, planning commissioners, the packet's now available.
Should
Here's
have
the
been
link."
sent a link.
Oh, we were?
Yes.
Did you get a link?
Yeah.
There's a link there, but try to get in.
Yeah.
Is it hard to get in?
Well, you sent a link that it's delivered here and go pick it up.
I
That's
got
what
that
I would say.
I got that email, but embedded in that was something I could click on to see all this.
There should be, and it's on the county website, and I'll make sure that in the future that link is in your
I guarantee I'm not. I'd rather drive here, which I hate. I hate even more clicking around some county website trying to find something. It's a pain.
Yes, it is.
And it's not the same.
Friday? You just bump it in the mail to them.
So if you could use Dropbox, if you want to
We'll spend $100 just making copies.
Doesn't the county building inspector go out the field and do different things in different areas, and couldn't they deliver while they're doing other things?
Creative thing is more supposed to be anything.
See, I'm a all-inclusive joint effort kind of guy.
Brent. Oh, here goes Brent.
Okay, Brent. State your name for the record.
Brent Barnes. The short answer to that is no. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We have folks that are working out of the box, and folks that refuse to work out of the box, and folks that have issues with working out of the box, and I need to respect the boxes.
Okay.
The bottom line is I can't do that. Sorry,
That was pretty cryptic.
It would be an easy way to handle it.
So they're working out of the box, which means they can't do delivery?
That's correct.
Okay. Seems strange.
Well, if can you also talk about just putting this, if you want to modernize, if you want us to modernize, we'd like you to modernize, and don't make us click around a county website, but stick all this on Dropbox or Hightail or something and give us the link, and then we can all click on stuff. That would be a lot easier.
And for large format maps, I'm sorry to interrupt, but large format maps, I think that can be mailed probably without, and that won't break the bank in terms of postage and stuff. It's our budget that suffers. So, but Dropbox and that's a great idea. We'll figure out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some backwards kind of IT and security issues and stuff that we have to work through, but that's a good idea.
This is all public information anyway.
Right.
And Dropbox is much more secure than it used to be.
I'm not a Dropbox person. I don't know.
Real estate, we're all soft copy digital, pretty much. And so I know where you're going with it, but maps and color maps and those kind of stuff, it's tough. So, and then if we don't get our packets on time, then we lose a whole day of being able to review and read. So,
Or was AT&T service being so bad? I hate to say that we're up there, San Felipe, AT&T service does not work. You get in there and it takes forever.
For internet?
Internet, yeah.
see, and here you have Jeff. Jeff picks up, I'm sorry to mention you by name, Jeff, but he picks up his emails like once a day at night sometime, and he's talking about flushing his iPhone. I don't think it's going to work for him. Pat, and I think he dropped his computer a while ago, actually. But
Yeah, my computer died.
and Pat, I think it's in the same kind of a situation. Yeah, so, I mean, otherwise, we'd work with you on the soft copy part of it. Come on, work with us. We put a lot of time and effort in this here. We're volunteers. Did you know that?
Mr. Chair, would you like a motion to conclude this meeting?
Please.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank you for coming. We always enjoy your participation.
See you later.
See you later, guys.